All right. Hello. Just got out of Stalingrad, and I'm recording this in my car because I have to go to work in like an hour or so. So I don't want to wait till I get home and record this because I don't want to lose my thoughts. I don't want to forget anything. Off the top of my head, it feels much fresher if I do it right now. And my car's a little bit warm, so I'm happy about that. I'm not freezing. Um, what is Stalingrad was Russia's submission for this year's Oscars. It first caught my attention because the director Fedor Bondarchuk, and I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing his name, directed a film a couple years ago called Ninth Company, which I've compared to a Russian version of Full Metal Jacket or Platoon, and that caught my eye. The fact it's about the Battle of Stalingrad caught my eye, and the fact that it's in 3D obviously caught my eye. And bonus points as it's Russia's first, I forget it's Russia's first 3D film or it's this Russia's first IMAX film, but this is the very first non-American film made for IMAX. So I mean, in the past, there's been like Chinese movies and Indian films that have been released in IMAX, but this is the first film to be shot for IMAX that has IMAX involved from the get go. So the way the film was shot, uh, uh, shots were composed, visual effects, sound design, and all that, IMAX was apparently there from day one. So that made the film really good. It was shot digitally, so it was shot in 3D, which is always better in my opinion. But it wasn't shot on that new IMAX digital camera that I've heard about that shoot on Transformers 4. But yeah. So what's the story? A bit of history. The Battle of Stalingrad occurred from um, really the autumn of 1942 into the late winter of 1943. This was, if I remember when it ended correctly, I'm pretty sure I am. It was one of the bloodiest, most brutal, one of the most vicious battles in all of human history. Um, Around 2 to 3 million soldiers, both German and their various allies, and Russian soldiers were killed. The German Sixth Army ceased to exist. Like hundreds of thousands of civilians were killed. The 90,000 prisoners the Russians took after the battle, only about 6,000 of them got home when they were released in 1955. Um, it's credited as one of the major turning points in the Second World War on the Eastern Front, and it really is. The story has been dramatized for I think more American audiences before with Enemy at the Gates, about the sniper duel between Vasily Zaitsev as well as that stars Jude Law and came out like 2003 I think or 2004. And it's also been dramatized in the early 1990s, middle 1990s, just called Stalingrad. Also, just called Stalingrad. It was a German film from the producers of Das Boot, also starring, who's also in this film, Thomas Kretschmann. And that's also a really, really good film. And that film, I would say, is better than this film in the sense that it's a much more broad take on the battle. It's a much more thorough account of the battle, but it is from the German perspective. It's not from any Russian perspective. So the story of this Stalingrad is it focuses on 6 soldiers of this Russian scout group who is isolated after an assault on the banks of the Volga in a building which sits pretty close to the bank. So it's a very strategically vital place for them. They're isolated there, and they form a relationship with the woman who lives there. At the same time, the film also focuses on a German captain who has a relationship with a Russian girl. And so, once the film gets started, it really splits between the Russians in the strategically important house and the German officer in his command post, and the girls and his Russian girls' home. Starting out with the cons first. just so I'll be honest, the negatives first. The film is bookended by events in the present day, and it's told, and I don't like bookends are always really difficult to pull off, and I don't think it really got pulled off here all that well. Um, it the thing is, bookends in a movie like Saving Private Ryan, the bookends there worked really well. The South Korean film Taegukji, The Brotherhood of War, the bookends worked phenomenally well, and that is one of the films where I've literally just started bawling in tears at the end of that film. Here, the bookend really doesn't work. It doesn't really add anything to the film. It doesn't, um, you know, progress like any theme or whatever. It just feels a little bit awkward actually because at points in the film you hear the narrator talking, and mostly he's talking about the various characters, and they just come at the most random point. There's a Russian soldier who's the smart ass of the group who has the snide mouth and all that, and right after he makes this big spiel about how his younger brother was killed by the SS or killed by the Germans, and how he's going to kill every every German he sees when he sees them. As they're getting fired upon by the Germans, it breaks in this voiceover of really his family was much worse happened to his family than what he was told by his mother in a letter to him. So that's what most of the voiceover. Another voiceover comes over when another soldier is trying to raid a downed German Heinkel HE-111 for its machine guns. It's only there's another voiceover right there, and that really did annoy me. And I honestly believe that you can cut the book end of the movie at the front and the back, which takes place in I should say where it takes place. There is an earthquake in Japan, and the narrator is there. He's brought to a place where some people are buried alive, and one of the girls down there asks them, just don't leave us. He's looking down through them with a camera with a microphone, and she just asks him, just talk to us. And so he tells them the story that you're about to watch. So you could cut that out. You could cut the end cap off and remove the voiceover, and this would have been a much better film. I think the movie by itself developed at least one of the major characters. From what the voiceover gives you about his history, about who he is, where he was before the war. I kind of understood that just from the girl, Katya, the girl that the Russians are with. Just from what she's mentioned about him, and just from watching this actor's performance, I can go, okay, I can pretty much guess his history. I don't need it told to me. So the voiceover and the bookends are my biggest problem with the movie. It really did. I think it did subtract from this movie. I think it did subtract from it. My other issue with it, I've been getting a lot more into drama, a lot more into character, a lot more into interactions with people, and the drama in this film, however, surrendered a little too much to the melodramatic. It surrendered a little too much to the the lines of damn the war, damn the armies, damn the continent, damn all this. It surrendered to the I loved you when I first saw it. Surrenders to the melodrama too much at times. And melodrama can be done really well. It's standard. Everyone uses it. And it just, I don't want to say it came off. It did come off. It didn't even come off too heavy-handed. It just came off just kind of there, and it did distract a little. It did pull from some of the more dramatic moments, some of the moments that I went could have been much better served if they were played a little more realistic rather than uh, stylized, which dialogue in movies is naturally stylized. Regular human speech is inherently boring. Um, that was one of the things that like every screenwriting class, everything that you were screenwriting saying, you must make your dialogue believable. Yes, but you shouldn't speak like normal people speak, because what I'm saying to you, what you might say in a normal conversation, is generally very boring. So you want to stylize it a little bit. You want to flourish it a little bit just to make it interesting to the audience. And here it's just flourished to the point of, it sounds like, I don't want to say daytime soap opera because that's insulting. It just, it's buttered a little too much um, in some of the scenes. So yeah, those were my two big issues with the film, was that the voiceover and the bookends in the president weren't needed. I think you could cut this out just fine. A little aside, a small one, but uh, watched the film in IMAX, and I have my perfect seat for 3D in that auditorium. Downside is I realized in the opening, I was like, oh yeah, it's subtitled, and so some of the text has a little bit of ghosting on it, which I would assume just more from the fact of where I was sitting than anything about the movie. And in the opening credits, there is some voiceover, and then you see the. I assume it's like, this company presents this from the director. It's all in Cyrillic. And in most movies most foreign films, it'll have it translate above it as it has dialogue going below it. Here it doesn't. So I was sitting there confused, like, okay, what are all these names popping up? Is this relevant information? Um, I guess not, because it wasn't. The only subtitle you got for text was the title of Stalingrad and then the end credits. But so yeah, but that's not much. The pros and my overall feeling of the film, I absolutely loved it. There were issues with the storytelling. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Nevertheless, overall, I felt it was just a very strong movie. Um, Starting out, I mean, let's talk about the visuals and from the technical aspects. This movie looks gorgeous. It looks fantastic. There is the battle sequences. I, that's as close as I ever want to get to war. Um, the whole I love IMAX. I've always, but I've never felt like, people saying, "Oh my God, it's so loud, I just can't stand it." Here, I felt the auditorium rumble, and I went, "So this is what everyone is talking about." Mix that in with the 3D and the shoot, the way it's shot, the way it's edited, and the effects one. It is just awe inspiring and terrifying and horrible. Uh, this movie was made for like 30 million US dollars. To get this look in America, you would have to like $100 million budget. It looks fantastic. The most of the film takes place in this square in Stalingrad, and the entire thing is, a built set with CGI extensions. Um, what can I say? The film looks phenomenal. It's the cinematog. I don't know the cinematographer's name. That's the thing. Outside of the director and Thomas Kreutzmann, I know none of the folks. None of the folks ring a bell for me. So I do feel a little bit bad about that. The CG work is the practical effects work is just phenomenal. I mean, great kudos to the construction crews, to the production designer, to the art direction. The sets look phenomenal. There is so much grit. There is ash. It feels like a war zone. It looks like how seen a lot of like documentaries on warfare on like the History Channel or something. It looks a lot like all those old film reels and stills of a battle zone, with just crumpled buildings and just ash floating around, debris everywhere. This is a very dirty, dirty, dirty movie in its design, and it's just gorgeous for it. Um, See, I absolutely fell in love with the visual look of this movie. Talking about, yeah, I would say if you're someone who loves production design, if you're a production designer, I would say just give this film a watch. Even if you just want to watch it on mute, I think you would absolutely just have your breath stolen by what they have here. Uh, the 3D is really really good. Um, this is Bondarchuk's first 3D movie, and it's shot like a pro. There's a couple of sequences where someone's like wielding a gun, and it comes out of the screen, or some debris flies out at you. But most of it is a real great sense of depth, a sense of atmosphere. Uh, James Cameron's always talking about how drama can be used really well with 3D, and I think he should point to Stalingrad as a great point of that. I will mash on the film for it's a bit too much melodrama, but the use of 3D to get inside those rooms, get inside the, it feels claustrophobic. Um, it feels like you're really right there with these people as they're going through this. The 3D work is absolutely fantastic, and um, go branching off from that, this film is in a wide IMAX 3D release for 1 week only. I'm seeing this on Saturday. Um, I know most theaters are doing some kind of 300 marathon thing on Thursday before the next one comes out. And so this, probably like Thursday at maybe 2 or 3 o'clock, will be your last chance to see Stalingrad on the IMAX screen, which is where you need to see it. If this does well enough, I hope it does. Who knows? Maybe Columbia will release it into 2D and maybe regular 3D theaters. But don't wait for that. Don't wait to see it on home video. Watch it in IMAX as soon as you possibly can. It it is absolutely just fantastic. It's another film I would credit like Gravity and Pacific Rim. Of this is why IMAX exists. This is what 3D is capable of. But getting back to the movie itself, from my little rant, um, for all the practical effects, all the just massive sets. I mean, the massive sets they built. The beauty of it, there is definitely a lot of CGI in this film, and some reviews I've read, ever so briefly, have been talking about, have hit the points I've made of a little too much melodrama. Storytelling is just not as clean as they want it to be. But they're all saying, oh, the film is drenched in CGI. It's a CGI splooge fest. And I have to make my statement again of, what would you do? How would you showcase the Battle of Stalingrad without CGI? Are you going to marshal 10,000 extras? 12 Panzer Mark IVs, a couple of Heinkels. Are you going to find an entire destroyed city and say, right, we'll shoot here? We have 10,000 extras. We have 12 tanks. We have a couple of Heinkels. Let's do it. What's the budget? What's our time frame? I'm CG for me, when it's used like this, when it's used to really just give this grand scope, to give you a sense of the scope of what these men are involved with and how, in a way, tiny they are. And one of the final shots of the film is showing the house that they're in the middle of the city of Stalingrad, and it's such a tiny, tiny, tiny place. It makes it almost feel like what they're doing isn't insignificant. Um, that they're, which in a way it's bizarrely true that, um, for them, the entire battle for them is this square, is this, couple of hundred, maybe, 2 or 3 acres worth of ground. To them, that's the war. To them, that's the battle. To them, that's everything. But on the grand scale, there's dozens and hundreds of these kind of cases. So they're not. So, and I feel I'm going on another rant again, but it just puts that one shot for me just put a lot of things a bit more into perspective. That the whole battle is not going to be won on 2 acres of ground. It really is just just a small part of the conflict. But sorry, I don't know. I'm just bouncing around everywhere. But yeah, CGI. You know how so if unless so that's my thing. I think this film could not have been done with using a lot of CGI, and the CGI here is just phenomenal. It's some of the best I've ever seen. And how else would you do it? If you're saying, right, I don't want to use CGI, but I want to do a war film, so we're stuck with, shooting everything between your feet to your head and 2 blocks of street. We're not going to, no, let's not show everything else. Um, let's just infer what's happening around us. And I think calling something like CGI splooge or something like that, sometimes it is true, but in a way does insult the visual effects artists who worked on it. This work is just phenomenal, and it makes sense. It's there to tell the story, to give a perspective of what's going on, and to help create this world that doesn't exist anymore. So here I will fully defend the use of CGI in this movie. At its core, it is a human drama, and using CGI in that might irk some people, might make people go, he's more. Bondarchuk is more interested in showing the battle scenes. This one's over 2 hours long, and including the battle sequences, maybe take up 20-25 minutes of that movie of the runtime. Not long at all, but they make their impact known because of using CGI, because of having digital extras, digital extensions, digital tanks. When I first saw the trailer, I didn't realize that quite a few of the Panzer IVs that you see in the movie are digital. I wound up watching a visual effects breakdown a few weeks ago, and it turns out, yeah, that's true. So yeah, this is not CGI for CGI's sake. This is not a case of, oh, well, we can build it, or we can do it practically, but we're not going to. We're just going to do it CGI. It's easier. No, this is CGI being used because it has to be used, because otherwise this story, to really put it into a perspective, a wider perspective, could not have been told. And I think the film would have been harmed if it wasn't done. And the battle sequences are just once again just spectacular. To hop on those, I was absolutely floored by them. They were just phenomenal. So yeah, and I will give credit where credit's due. That there are flashlights in this movie, and no one shined a flashlight in the camera's eye. I am pissed off, and to any filmmaker who watches this, if you're making a 3D film, don't shine a freaking flashlight in the camera. It hurts. I don't get eye strain watching 3D. I feel eye strain every time someone flashes a flashlight. It's like, oh, ooh, we're being really cool. No, it freaking hurts. So I give full credit to the Russian crew for not flashing a flashlight, because that gets me pissed off. My worst nightmare would be, the thing that really broke me was Texas Chainsaw 3D, when one of the cops was every 5 seconds, flashlight. But so yeah, that was a small little rant. But anywho, uh, over overall, what I think of it, I absolutely taking the film as a whole. I absolutely thought it was wonderful. To me, for me personally, it's one of the best war films I've seen in recent years. The storytelling is somewhat flawed, but I think the overall strength of the picture, strength of the actors, Thomas Kretschmann comes off much better here than he did in Dracula 3D. The Russian actors were all really good. I honestly have no, unless one of them has been in Night Watch or Day Watch, I have no idea who they are. Uh, but they all played really well. Um, so yeah, my overall feeling was I thought I really this was a really good picture. I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely seeing it again. I'm gonna be taking my dad to go see it. Hopefully, if no snow happens, or not a lot of snow. But so yeah, I highly recommend this movie. I highly recommend you watch this, and I more highly recommend you get out and find an IMAX theater that's going to play it and go see it. Yeah, it's 1850 for a ticket. I don't feel bad at all paying for this ticket. I feel I got my money's worth. I'm very pleased by it. And if nothing else, I say go out and support it because I want to see more of this. I want to see more foreign films. And I give great kudos to Columbia for saying, right, we're going to take this Russian film and give it a wide IMAX release versus our other film, Robocop. And even though it's only for 1 week, to me, the week that Stalingrad is in the theater is more significant than anything else. Because I'm now holding out hope that there are going to be other distributors who will go, wow, that turned out pretty good. The film made some money, made some decent money, and then they might go, well, let's put another foreign film into a wider release out the gate. Let's put it into a more premium experience. Um, I'm still waiting for a Polish film, 1920 Battle of Warsaw 3D. Hopefully, maybe that will finally get released here in the States. But, I hope Stalingrad is doing well. There was about half dozen other people in the theater with me, which is more than I expected. And the reason why I say go out and support this because I see all my friends on Facebook saying, we want to see this cool new foreign film, but it's only available on video on demand or in 2 or 3 theaters in LA. Go out and support Stalingrad if you're near an IMAX theater. Because I hope now, I'm hoping that, I would walk into a movie theater, just a big standard chain, not an art house theater, and seeing even just one other foreign film, maybe from Germany or Italy or Russia, Japan, wherever it's from, that, you know, that we can start importing films now instead of just exporting them, that foreign films of note, foreign films of acclaim, because this film is like Russia's #1 film of all time. It's won a bunch of awards over there. It was their submission for this year's Oscars. I want to see more. And the problem is so many of them either never get released here or they wind up with 3 movie theaters and video on demand. I don't use video on demand. I don't like it. I want to see a movie in the theater. That's where like most films are meant to be seen, or any film is meant to be seen. It should be seen on the big screen. So I hope Stalingrad is a success here in the States so that I can start seeing it, because a lot of foreign films, I wind up stumbling across them on the internet or in Best Buy and go, wow, wow, that got released here. Wow, it got released on a bare bones DVD. There's not even a Blu-ray of it. Or I have to shop overseas and find, a Blu-ray or a DVD that's region locked. But more importantly, it's lacking English subtitles. So I really hope Stalingrad is a success, because I would love to see more foreign films given a premium release. Um, you know, so I do thank Columbia for doing that. That awesome move on their part. But yeah, so what are my overall thoughts of the film? Highly recommend. The storytelling does have its problems. I'll say that. From a technical perspective, there's absolutely flawless. I cannot fault a single thing about it. Overall, I thought the rest of the strength of the storytelling, when it wasn't a little too melodramatic, when the acting, when the film was firing all cylinders, which I felt it was most of the time, um, it came out. It was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is not a war. This is a drama, a human drama set in a war zone. So if you're going here expecting lots of battles every 5 minutes, you'd be sorely disappointed. If you're expecting a full breakdown of the Battle of Stalingrad, that's not what happens here. You could, if you were to do a movie about the Battle of Stalingrad, you really couldn't, unless you focus on a specific portion of it. Because if you want to tell the story of Battle of Stalingrad, you would have to do a mini series of 20 parts. Get Tom Hanks, get Steven Spielberg, because to do it, because it would make the Pacific and Band of Brothers put together look like a high school stage play in order to do Stalin the full battle justice. But yeah, so yeah, I highly recommend this film, and I urge you to go out before Thursday, before the 300 marathons or 302 IMAX early screenings begin. Go out, hunt this film down, go out and watch it, pay your money, and I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did. I absolutely love this movie, and because they gave it a premium experience for the theaters with IMAX, I'm hoping Columbia will deliver premium for home. I'm hoping for a 3D Blu-ray combo pack. And if it gets announced, I'll be buying it whenever it comes out. I'll be looking forward to it. Um, so I know this review might anger a friend of mine from college. He didn't like it. So I'll be interested to see what he fully didn't like about it. But no, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly recommend Stalingrad. It was great. So yeah, I got just under an hour before work, so I think I'm going to give myself some lunch and go to work. But yeah, these are my freeform thoughts just after the movie. So yeah, see Stalingrad, catch it before it leaves the theaters, because for all I know, it might not even get released to regular screens. And even if it is, you're still missing out if you're just going to do that. So, yep, hunt down Stalingrad, and I'm out. It was a great film.